networks don't talk about it. Government can't tax it. But sports betting is a $200 billion a year business.
That's a major U.S. Supreme Court ruling that could open the door for legalized sports betting all across the country.
The Supreme Court is giving the green light for states to determine on their own whether they want to legalize sports gambling.
Tell Donahue his next pick is good for 20 grand, but I need him to guarantee a win, okay? I need a lock.
He's not that fucking good.
No, Tommy, he has to. All right, he has to, or else they're going to kill me. Do you realize this, Tommy? They're going to fucking kill me. I can't afford to gamble anymore. I need a fucking lock.
Welcome in, Locks. We shall have. It is NFL Week 1 of Lock Talk. Showing up solo this week, I will have Gino from BetOpenly joining me in about 15 minutes once we get through some college football. Him and I are going to talk a little NFC and NFL Week 1. We have completely made it. Could not be more excited. College football Week 1 was an awesome appetizer. We'll go through a college football Week 1 recap. Little housekeeping stuff. Make sure we are checking out the app. Joey is not in this week to plug it, but the Lock Talk app is available on the App Store as well as Google Play. As we move forward through the season, that's where all my plays are. And if you followed them this weekend, your boy was 7-1 on the college football gridiron. Every single one of those plays, that was on BetOpenly. They were the first ones to see it. Obviously, you can follow me on Action. I have all my action there as well. It was a great college football Week 1. I spent it up north with the family, so I got to watch in a little bit of a different venue than I'm used to outside the mothership. So very excited. Like I said, 7-1 for myself Thursday through Monday. That was awesome. Let's kind of run through it and recap Week 1 before we jump into Week 2. Thursday night, got to start on Thursday night. NDSU gave Colorado all they could handle. Big shout out to Jimmy Horn, had just under 200 yards for the Buffs. Travis Hunter, 3 touchdowns. That could have been, it sucks. For Dion, it sucks. You win. Congrats, you beat an FCS team. You lose. Everyone's calling for your head. So tough one there. He also mentioned this week that he's going to Eli Manning it with Travis Hunter and Shador, which should be super interesting. He does say a lot of shit. At the same time, let's talk Friday night. Scary shit for me, man. Or actually Thursday night too, before I get out of here, Minnesota did lose to UNC. Our boy Omarion Hampton hit his rushing over. No problems at all. Let's talk Friday night. I've been kind of dreading this. This is my nightmare scenario for me, was Wisconsin possibly losing outright at Camp Randall on Friday night. It was close. They ran away with it a little bit at the end, but yeah, man, Wisconsin doesn't look good. Van Dyke didn't look good. I don't have a whole lot of positives to take away from day one, but it's a long season. Hopefully things get better. Alabama comes to Camp Randall in 2 weeks, so we'll see about that. Moving into Saturday, UGA started us off. They rolled Clemson. It was 6-6 at halftime, 28-0 second half run for Georgia. Georgia looks good. Clemson, we talked about it last week. Klubnik is not the answer at quarterback for Clemson, just like DJ wasn't the answer at quarterback for Clemson. They are living in an era where they had Deshaun and they had Trevor Lawrence. They were spoiled with riches beyond belief. Those days are over. Clemson, welcome to the middle of the All-Coast Conference, as they've been calling it. Moving on Saturday, Oregon nearly lost to Idaho. Got to shout out head coach of Idaho, the Vandals, Jason Eck, lacrosse guy for my Wisconsin folks. You know exactly where that is. He was a GA and played at the University of Wisconsin. He pulled out all the stops. He did everything he could to beat Oregon. He had a playbook about yay thick that he was running through, trick plays, whatever it took. And he nearly did it. It was very impressive to what we saw last week in Oregon. I was excited for Oregon. I don't know what to think about Oregon right now. Other teams that played on Saturday, Cam Ward and Miami looked awesome. Just kicked Florida's ass. Graham Mertz, we talked about it last week on this program. We're taking the over in all Florida games, which it hit. Graham Mertz's ass. I got no better way to put it. Graham Mertz's ass. Everybody knows that if you've been watching football for the last 5 years. He's had, sorry, Gino just hit me. Perfect. We'll see Gino in 10 minutes. But yeah, Graham Mertz sucks. We've seen it. He had one good game at the University of Wisconsin. They post the highlights every single season. It's a dreaded night against Illinois. It was a Friday night standalone game. He fooled all of us, pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. Graham Mertz sucks. Seems like they might have something in a true freshman. Kid looks way more electric than what they got. But again, Cam Ward looked awesome. I think Cam Ward has to be an early Heisman candidate if you're talking there. And then we move to Saturday night, Notre Dame. How about that on Saturday night? Notre Dame goes into Aggie land and survives by the absolute skin of their teeth. It was awesome. You saw Marcus Freeman. He's the kind of coach that I worry about teams like Notre Dame having. I have no idea who the hell said hi, but hi. Yeah, no, I don't know how they expect this to go forward. Riley Leonard looked okay at quarterback, but he was kind of a general out there, which is kind of what Notre Dame needs. Notre Dame survives in Aggie land. Let's talk about FSU. FSU last night, for those of you that were watching, it was as bad as things could get for FSU. They are getting just steamrolled by the absolute mid of all mids. I don't really know what to think about it right now. They were on some sort of revival tour, looking forward at it. It has not been good. FSU, we are having your funeral. ESPN had it. It was a 1% chance with a loss that FSU is going to make the college football playoff. I think we can put the done chain on FSU. Sorry, Thor. What up, Gare? Boston money line was huge. Boston money line. Oh, BC. BC money line plus 570. Definitely not a small feat if you got BC. I was on quarterback over rushing yards, which he hit on the last play that gave a shit. Fun fact, had the over in rushing yards as we move forward. Didn't know this. Feels like I should have for the amount of props that I bet. If the quarterback takes a knee, it's not negative yards. I had the PC quarterback, and his name's escaping me right now, but completely terrified. He runs for 15 yards, clears his over. He's over by 12. He's at 72, and then he lines up 4 yards in the shotgun. 3 straight plays. I've never been more distraught, and then I start Googling, and because I look at ESPN, the stats app, and it says, oh, he's not going negative. It's a team rush. So as we move on, good point to know. Those are team negative yards. Those aren't going against the quarterback for taking a knee. So I win my bet and FSU loses. Let's move right along into week 2. We got a few minutes before I bring Gino in with us. Friday night games only this week. No Thursday night. Very light with the Packer game on Friday night as well. So it's going to be a little boring. Game number 1, BYU and SMU. SMU's laying 10.5. I was wrong on SMU. Week 1, I thought they were going to roll. I'm definitely buying into the hype because my buddy's on staff down there. I have no action for this one, but I do have action in the second game. It's going to be Northwestern against Duke. Right now on BetOpenly, Northwestern minus 142 on the money line, laying 2.5 at minus 110, which is a interesting line that you usually don't see on BetOpenly. And the total, a lovely 36.5. We look at a Duke team, didn't look good against Elon. Obviously, Mike Elko ditches for Texas A&M. Riley Leonard ditches for Notre Dame. So Duke's in a little bit of a starting over spot. They had 350 yards against Elon. It was a 26-3 victory. Not anything that I'm overly impressed by. Northwestern didn't do anything crazy either. 350 yards against Ohio, Miami of Ohio, I believe. Out of the MAC, they had 350 yards, a little bit more damage on the ground. Duke did look really good through the air, but it's an FCS secondary, so I don't buy a ton into that. I like Northwestern. I'm taking Northwestern money line. It's an expensive one at minus 142. I took 3/4 of a unit to win just over a half. Just a little extra Friday on the side because I'll talk about it. That's not going to be my only wager on Friday night. Very excited for my Packers, but we will talk about that in a little bit. Moving on to Saturday. Let's talk Saturday games. We do have some interesting ones. It starts with the most interesting game of the day. I mean, we don't have to beat around the bush. I don't know if you guys heard that burp. Sorry, boys having a little bourbon. Yep. All right. Texas, Michigan, game of the week. Everybody's very excited for it. I don't know why. Michigan looked like dog shit last week. If you're going to touch Michigan this week, I get it. They're getting more than a touchdown at the big house, but I like Texas. I'm not going to bet Texas yet. Arch did throw his first touchdown last week. Isaiah Bond, we talked about him. He was an Alabama transfer. He looked terrific. 6 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Warren and Orji both played quarterback for Michigan in week 1. Donovan Edwards. Can I talk about Donovan Edwards a little bit? Might be an all-time finesse in college football this year. The dude gets the college football 25 cover. He comes into the season. I don't know if you guys watched. I'm kind of a nerd and watched every little bit of college football 25 content that was given out. Donovan Edwards played in a game. I don't remember who he was playing, but he played somebody in a game, and the dude just looked heavy. He looked out of shape. He looked very out of shape. I think he ended up with 26 yards and like 11 carries. No bueno. I think Texas takes this game. Texas at 7.5. You could tease them all the way down to 1.5. I think that's a great candidate. You can get them -7.5 right now, plus 104 on BetOpenly. They are 252. Promise Texas will be by far the most popular moneyline parlay candidate this season, or not this season, this week. Let's move on down the list. On Saturday during the day, another 11 o'clock kickoff here in the Midwest. Kansas State and Tulane, interesting. Neither team really a whole lot didn't show us much in week 1. Kansas State obviously moving on from Will Howard. They're laying 10 on the road here. I would lean points, but I don't know enough about either side to probably get an accurate representation of where I actually stand on that game. Moving on to our next one. This is Arkansas and Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma State, I got to give a lot of credit to. I kind of teased it last week that they were bringing in South Dakota State, back-to-back FCS champs, and honestly, they took care of business. They won by three scores, so good on Oklahoma State. They're laying a touchdown and a half point against the Arkansas Razorbacks at home. Arkansas, super dynamic at quarterback. Don't really know what we've got outside of that. It should be a super interesting matchup, not one that I have a whole lot of interest in right now. Total in that one, sitting at 62.5, feels really high, especially for a traditional Oklahoma State team, but we'll kind of keep an eye on that as we go forward. That might be an underplay as we move through the week. Speaking of underplays, talk about a game that got bet down. I think it opened at 42, Iowa State and Iowa. This thing is sitting at 35 flat on BetOpenly. I can't believe it. Now laying 2.5, Iowa -120 on the money line. The Hawkeyes scored 40 points in week 1. That's great. Didn't do it against anybody special. ISU did not look good in week 1. I would lean Iowa in this spot. I'm not going to take Iowa just because you can't take a week 1 Iowa offensive performance of 40 points, because I think last year when they had the whole points to keep his job type deal going on, I'm pretty sure Iowa scored like 40 and 25 points last time out. Yeah, they put up 40 against Illinois State. So I wouldn't get too excited. Obviously, you can always bet an Iowa Iowa State total under 35. I think it was a 10-7 game last year. It's an exciting one. If you like excitement, that's excitement for you. Moving down the list on Saturday, our last day game that I'll run through, the SC Gamecocks against the UK Wildcats. Kentucky is laying 9.5 right now. SC looked bad. SC did not look good in week 1. Kentucky, again, they had a weird game. They played partial second half. Couldn't really tell if it was weather related. Couldn't really tell if it was the other team kind of rolling over. It was a little bit of an odd scenario there, but yeah, interesting line, 9.5 at Kentucky. Total in that one, 42.5, a very, very low college football total, especially in the SEC. That'll be an interesting one. I do not have any specific action there. Moving on to Saturday night, where I will have some action. Let me get down here on the list. Gosh, it's so nice to have all these lines to go through. All right, let's talk Kansas. Let's talk Kansas and Illinois. Kansas is at Illinois, laying 5.5. I lean Kansas right away. I like Kansas this year. Didn't look amazing last week. Illinois didn't look amazing either against Eastern. But again, you get these FCS week 1 matchups. I don't want to get too hyped up about one thing. But one thing I was hyped up on before the season started was the Kansas Jayhawks in general. Obviously, Jalon Daniels, a big benefactor. Another guy that should be in that Heisman conversation. We'll see if that moves forward. Should be a solid cross Big 10, Big 12 matchup on a Saturday night in Champaign. Moving on, 2 more college football games to go through. Tennessee travels to NC State. That's our second ranked matchup of the weekend. Right now, Tennessee's laying 7.5. I like Tennessee on the road here. Part of me wants to do a Tennessee-Kansas parlay. It's just screaming my name. I don't like taking the teams on the road, laying the points early on in the season. I don't fully know what they're capable of, but I do think both teams are going to win the game. Kansas, Tennessee together should end up paying out relatively nicely. Again, riding Jalon Daniels, Lance Leipold. It's a good situation going on in Kansas right now. I don't know how I feel about Illinois. Talked to a few Illinois fans. Obviously, I'm in the region. They don't love where they're heading right now in terms of the NIL and how they've been. And again, Tennessee, you might have paid that quarterback $10 million for a good reason. Let's just say that. Nico is dope. Our nightcap, probably the most polarizing game of the weekend because every Colorado game in the beginning of the season apparently is going to be as polarizing as it gets. But I'll tell you what, I hate to say it because we have been their absolute daddy for the last, my sophomore year of high school prom. We're looking at 12, 13 years. That is Nebraska. Nebraska is hosting Colorado. This is going to be a super interesting matchup. And it comes down to, can Colorado play big boy football? You almost blew it with NDSU last week. You didn't. Now you got to go to Nebraska. Nebraska, I'll tell you what, they got a freshman quarterback, Dylan Raiola. Motherfucker looks like Patrick Mahomes. I'll say it. Everybody else is saying it. He has the mannerisms. He throws like him. He trains with him. He wears 15. It's kind of weird that he wears like the same gear. I don't know how I feel about that. That's a little odd. But the kid can ball. He looked really good last week. I think the Colorado-Nebraska game, which right now we're looking at odds on BetOpenly, Nebraska laying 7.5 at plus 109. Find that anywhere if you're a Cornhusker fan. Sitting right now, minus 288 on the money line. Total on this one, super intriguing to me. 59 feels like an over all day long. I think Colorado doesn't really play defense. They played defense against an FCS school last week. Congratulations. But yeah, that's going to round out my college football slate. I'm trying to make sure that there wasn't any games that were off the beaten path that I took. I got Gino sitting in the queue, so we'll flop over to him in a second. This was one that I liked. Georgia Tech currently laying 3 at Syracuse. I think Georgia Tech is the real deal. I shit on them preseason. I was wrong. I'll say it. So that's going to wrap it up for college football. I am going to be bringing in, let me just remember how to do this correctly. Boom and boom. Mr. Gino.
What up?
What's up, my man? How are we doing?
Bad.
No, you're good. How are we feeling tonight?
Just got the little one down. Maddie and I recorded an hour or two ago. So I got
how's my boy Matty Betts doing, man? He's doing so much shit every weekend. He's somewhere else.
Dude, the people that don't know him, he earns every one of his followers. The dude is working 14 hours a day. If he's not at the casino, he's in the lab. If he's not at the lab, he's in the studio. If he's not at the studio, he's back at the casino.
He's unbelievable. Like that. Like there are some guys, and I mean, if you look at him, you meet him, like how he kind of approaches life. Like that's kind of how he is, and you kind of knew once he gained a little traction in this genre, we'll call it. he was going to do well. And I'm super happy for the guy. I see him in the most random things tagged in on my Instagram, just doing people on the street stuff out in Vegas, UFC constantly. Maddie's my boy. I love him. Gino, you had a long off season. You got baby number 2 on the way now. You living life. How we doing? I know it was a long summer of betting baseball. How excited are we that football is back?
Dude, it's almost weird. Like at my age, I'm going to age myself, my young degens. At my age, you would think you're just used to the routine, but the gap, it's almost like NFL knows what they're doing. It's just long enough that every year, we're just so desperate and so happy that it comes back. It's not like any other sport. Like, I can't believe in 2 days we got Thursday night football, Friday night football, a college slate, all Sunday and Monday. I can't believe it. I actually think Friday night football should be more. Dude, if they're going to do Thursdays, why can't they do Fridays? Who cares?
So they had a long-standing thing that they don't play Fridays to not interfere with high school football. Well, they've broken that. So I would expect, and it was actually just announced today, I don't know if you saw it, they're exploring owning Labor Day weekend.
That would be
We're talking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5 straight days of NFL. You push college, more teams play week 0 is kind of what I read about. Obviously, you probably don't play a ton of games on Saturday, but the NFL, I mean, you could own Labor Day weekend. We both sat there on Sunday waiting for the game to start and Monday waiting for the game to start. That's how it works.
Dude, I think they should. I can't. No way around it.
I gotta give credit to my old man. He's been on that for years. Every Labor Day we're up north, he's like, we should be watching the NFL week 1 right now. Like, it makes sense.
And he's 100% right. No, I'm a big fan of it. So, dude, like, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about prime time? You want to talk about NFC West? Do you tell me? It's your show. I'm
thinking, I'm thinking we run through division by division, and then we'll talk a little week 1, obviously. For those of you that aren't familiar, I want to get Gino's background. We've already talked about it a lot. So if you've been listening to this show and you don't know what BetOpenly is, you're listening with your ears closed. I'd suggest open them up. Got the logo right behind me. Got the logo on the sweatshirt. Shout out Gino for the dope merch. We got plenty of that going on. I got Joey's headed out to New York for him. So we'll be twinning and winning this year. But Gino, he has kind of been on the forefront of a different part of the market when it comes to gambling. For those that listened to last year, I went on a long ramble of explaining what peer-to-peer is. I think we're almost in a space now where a lot of people are starting to realize it because there are more players. I saw that, they're out in New York. I can't remember what it is. Sport Trade, I think, is the one that they got out there. They're doing like minus 106. Well, Gino's doing things a little differently than minus 106. Minus 106 is cute, but BetOpenly is hashing that fucker out at a 10% discount. The book is gone. There is no book. The book is whoever the hell you're betting against. It is one of the best models, in my opinion, when it comes to betting. I don't like paying taxes. Gino is a hardworking American. He doesn't like to pay taxes either. Why the fuck would we pay taxes to gamble on something that was illegal for a long time? So if we don't have to pay taxes, we use BetOpenly, and especially in a state like Wisconsin that is super illegal still for whatever fucking reason. Yeah, it's an awesome option for us. And Gino, he is the founder. He is the backer behind it, the face of the company. Gino, talk about just take a 5 minutes and kind of explain how the hell BetOpenly kind of came to be and where you're at now and what's going forward.
Yeah. So I'll try and keep it less about me, more about the business. But I was a bookie, and then I moved down to Argentina. I was going to Panama and stuff, trying to build offshores. And I always wanted peer-to-peer. I was like, prior to being legal in the US, I just was like, why isn't there a site? This is going to sound really weird, but like almost like a dating site or a match site where I could just put out random, I didn't know shit about code back then. Just put out random ideas like the Niners are going to, have 15 wins this season, or just like basically make up whatever the fuck you want, and you're offering it to a market and someone else can connect with it. So we went down there. I started meeting coders and started building it. And then PASPA was overturned. PASPA being overturned, it's kind of like the inverse of pot, marijuana, where like the feds made it legal, the states made it legal, but the Fed still has it illegal. This was the opposite. The Fed said, nope, gambling's no longer illegal. Each state gets to make their own decisions. So what O'Kane was talking about was, yeah, there's going to be some states that drag their heels. There's going to be some states that are like, fuck it, come on in. So BetOpenly is just peer-to-peer, 1% juice. We removed the house, better lines and odds. I had a call for an hour today with another founder of a peer-to-peer company trying to make us all play nicely together so we could fill more bets and show more liquidity. That's going to be another big fucking project for 2025, but people seem pretty open to it. And yeah, we don't replace, I mean, sure we do. We replace books, but books still have their purpose. Like BetOpenly's max odds are minus 1,500. So just because the way we take 1%, anything more than that would get too wide on the favorite. Parlays, I think we block anything over minus 500. You know those guys that like those 10-leggers of fucking minus 2,000, the ones that Florida State fucked up last night, those parlays.
Oh, there was some discourse.
Like, yeah, parlaying like the MVP to the winner of the Super Bowl to the winner of March Madness, all that lottery ticket shit's perfect for a sports book. We're just like, hey man, I like the Niners money line. And you're like, dude, I like the Jets money line. And you look at the book, Niners minus 200, Jets plus 160. It's like, why? We'll just both do 180. I'm minus, you're plus. Let's dance. So, yeah, there's a lot of different models coming up. We added DFS because DFS is sub legality. There's also the sweepstakes model. I'm sorry, I'm so technical. I just read a bunch of shit on legal all day.
No, that's all good.
Oh, it's the AMOE model. AMOE just means ulterior method of entry. The rebets.
It's what is
flip.
Flip. It's
Flip,
the flip method.
Rebet, all them. So I got a lawyer in New Jersey that's working on what we can add there.
Nice.
I don't like that model if I'm being candid because they just found a loophole.
You've spoken out on that model in the past.
Yeah, I don't like it because, dude, I'm a big Web3 guy. Web3 made a bunch of casinos. The whole point of Web3 was to replace the banks. Bitcoin was born during, what was that shit called? Occupy Wall Street.
Yep.
So long ago, people forget it, sadly. So to replace it with the same shitty math, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But what we figured out is if we do that way and we make them contests and sweepstakes and make it fun, and people had the ability to bet on BetOpenly and have smaller bets fill automatically at kickoff if they didn't fill peer-to-peer, I think that's where I could get my heart around it. It's like, hey, I am saving O'Kane and his homies a lot of money every peer-to-peer bet. But if the dude wants something minus 110 last second, now he doesn't have to have two balances. We could fill them both. So I'll talk to partners in the space that have licenses and we'll try and do it with a partner. You know, it's like almost like a sponsor or a fill bet. But yeah, that's us, dude. And I could go on for hours, but I don't want to bore people.
Of course. No. And one thing that I love about the DFS side of it is it just allows one more book to shop, right? Because at the end of the day, all we've been doing for the last decade, 2 decades of gambling for some of us, not me, that have been gambling that long, is just shopping to find the best line. BetOpenly does all that work for you. You're not going to beat the line. You're never going to beat the line. And if you are, you've got some dude that is running on something super delayed that sucks anyways and probably is going to pay you out on Tuesday. So I wouldn't worry about it. No, BetOpenly, we obviously talk about it a lot on our show. We had Sim from CutBet, which if you're familiar with CutBet, it's another peer-to-peer. He came on last year, buddies with him, good dude. And I think you guys all have the same idea, you know, that you're more for the better, where if you're a DraftKings rep, you can say we're for the people, we give bonuses, we're doing this and that. At the end of the day, you're a drug dealer. You are. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. I mean, not saying being a drug dealer is bad from previous experiences, but
everyone
it's
needs
not
one.
Exactly. Everybody needs a drug dealer, but that's what they've turned into, is with the tax that they pay on it. And like you said, it's tough when you get the Fliff of the world, the Prize Picks, and I don't want to talk down on these because I use these different ones because you can.
Yep.
Nice thing is you can find ways to exploit them, but at the same time, you have such a world of young gamblers that just want it instant. They don't have the patience to wait for a bet openly. And I think that's why DFS for you guys is a really good field to get into. So, but yeah, enough about bet openly. You want to talk a little football, buddy?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I'm here. Tell me how you want to attack this division.
So I kind of want to go by divisions, and I want to talk about one of the more polarizing divisions that our boy Matty Betts finds himself entrenched in constant internet fights with. Let's talk NFC East a little bit, because the NFC East, to me, this year compared to last year, it seems like the parity is there more. Obviously, the Eagles right now, I'm looking on, again, Bet Openly, plus 127 to win the division. The Cowboys just under plus 200. I lean Eagles. I'm not a huge Dak Prescott guy. Is there something that I'm missing with the Cowboys? Do you see something better in Dallas that you're like, wow, this is a team that really is ready to make the next step? And again, I'll say it too, from a guy who had Mike McCarthy as a coach for a long time. I don't buy into the Mike McCarthy method. But what are your thoughts on Dallas? Let's start there.
I don't know if they did a good enough job replacing Tony Pollard. I'll start right there.
I think that's a great way to start it.
And running backs aren't expensive. Bringing back Ezekiel, that was like, I don't know, man. He wasn't that good for you before, and then he showed you how nothing he was in New England. He'll put up better numbers in New England, but than what he did in New England. But so I'll start right there. I don't know if they did enough. I do like their defense. Signing CD and paying him a boatload. I'm okay.
Yeah, where are you at on? Obviously, we'll talk about signing receivers, because in your world, I was gonna say, in your world, that's a polarizing topic right now.
I don't know if you want to overpay these dudes. It's hard, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, and I live in a world as a Packer fan where we don't pay receivers anything right now. But that's what I'm dreading, is in like 3 years, everybody readjusts the market on this thing every 2 to 3 years. And it's like, right now they're getting 20 to 25. Are you going to pay a receiver $30 million in the next few years?
Yeah. And honestly, the dollar amount is way less important than the percentage of the cap, really, is what it comes down to in the market. So,
that's a great point. It's a great point.
The cap keeps going up. We're going to always hear forever. We're going to hear ESPN say record-breaking contract forever, because every new one is going to be record-breaking. So it's wide receivers are an interesting one to me. It is a wide receivers league right now. Poor running backs have been devalued, which I think is a huge mistake. I can't believe Dallas didn't go after who's the big boy out of Tennessee?
That was Henry, man. I don't know. That made all the sense in the world.
Couldn't believe it.
Overpaying for a physical freak, that's like right up Dallas's alley.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe they didn't even maybe they did make a run at him and Baltimore beat him. But
true.
So yeah, to your point, I don't know what was really wrong with the Eagles at the end of the year. I do like the white kid they drafted out of Iowa, the DB. I like that
he was supposed to be mine, Gino. He was built for Green Bay.
Dude,
he won't say why. That's under the. That's
needed
outside
a DB, and I'm okay with Ricky. Poor Ricky guy got shot, but shot aside,
God, yeah, what the fuck?
I thought we were going to grab him. We needed a lockdown quarterback. I thought he was going to be a Niner. He was on the board when the Niners grabbed Ricky P.
Well, and the crazy thing is the Eagles already took Quinyon Mitchell, so they were like, well, we're just going to go double corner, so we'll call it what it is. The Eagles, who last season, let's take a look at it, 26th. In total yards, 31st against the pass. You draft two corners in the top 40 picks. One of them, and by a lot of metrics, was supposed to be a top 20 pick, top 25 pick. So, yeah, I feel good about Philly in that route. You pick up Devin White, good linebacker. Oren Burks, who actually comes over from Green Bay. He was solid for Green Bay. I thought really highly of him. I think he'll fit in well. CJ Gardner-Johnson, filling out the backfield. It'll be interesting. Philly's always won. I took Jalen Hurts in fantasy this year on one of my teams because, I mean, obviously it makes all the sense in the world from a fantasy standpoint. But, Gino, the question is, does it translate? Oh, my God. You did what now?
I Jordan Love. That's what I did. Yeah. I mean, it was a cheaper price, and
sure.
I couldn't believe
way
he was still
cheaper,
around.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he was still hanging around. I got him. The normal snake. I passed on Jalen when he was sitting there, and then the snake came back to me, and Jordan was there, and I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, I really think Philly has it. I think the Saquon can be the CMC 2.0. He's a little older than I think. Maybe not a little older, maybe a little more injury.
Yeah, I think that's probably what you're thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe more miss more games, I should say, not older in age,
less tread on the tires, we'll say.
Yeah, so whatever. I'm looking for I'm not getting it, but yeah, maybe CMC is a little more durable, say. But yeah, I think it's a good pickup. I think it takes a little stress off of Jalen to run. He still has a lot left in the tank. So I think it was a great pickup. I think they drafted really well for where their weakness is. I think their linebacking core is still kind of weak, so the middle of the field kind of gets abused on them. But I just was sadly at the Niners NFC Championship game at Philly, and that just felt like such a different team than I was at Philly at Tampa Bay last year. Those were two different teams. Couldn't believe it. No, we lost the quarterback and all that, but it made them look good, but they looked hungry. So, I don't know what was going on with Philly at the end of the year. I know there were a couple injuries, but it wasn't all injuries. They weren't crippled.
No, and I think one thing that Philly did really well this offseason, probably better in my opinion, than any other team that didn't take a head coach. They've got 2 first-year coordinators. They went out and got Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. I think those are 2 dynamite signings for an offensive coordinator and for a defensive coordinator spot. Obviously, Kellen Moore, everybody thought he was going to be the next head coach. Things don't pan out perfectly for him, and going to a division rival is an interesting move, but it is the NFC Beast, and they eat each other alive. So, no, I think you and I kind of sit the same way on the top 2 teams in the NFC East. As far as the 2 bottom teams, Giants and Commanders, obviously the Commanders go out, draft a quarterback, make some offseason moves, don't do anything crazy.
I like that quarterback, by the way.
I think I do too. He's super, when you talk about things that you can control, things that you can teach in the NFL, you can't teach somebody to be wildly more accurate. Yeah. Jaden Daniels is one of the most accurate quarterbacks that we've seen on a metric standpoint.
He's a savage.
He really is. And he brings that second level of, hey, man, I can run around a little bit. He's a little skinnier than I would hope, but my quarterback's pretty skinny too. I think that's just the way we're going to see going forward. But yeah, let's keep New York out of here. I know my poor co-host would love to talk Giants because it makes him so happy and does not make him frustrated at all. But let's just talk Commanders here for a second. What are your thoughts on Washington going into this year? Dan Quinn, first-year coach.
The kid has some talent around him. Who's the running back they brought in? From San Diego.
Yeah, they brought in Eckler. So they brought in Eckler. They brought in Zach Ertz.
Dude, Eckler's a good running back for a young quarterback because you can dump off. You cannot take the sacks. So he's a good dump down.
I'm peppering him all game long.
So I don't know if you know that Washington really wanted Ayuk.
Oh, sure.
And I was praying that it got Terry brought over to the Niners with a draft pick. I know he's
I draft Terry in every fantasy league. I think Terry's insane.
I know they love him. They're not giving him up, but I thought they were going to give us him with a pick. That faded as
insane.
I really thought they were trying to beef up, like take a third round pick and him.
Sure.
Didn't happen. Everyone in Washington laughed at me when I tweeted it, so that's fine. They know their team better than me. But I thought that, you remember, because our assistant GM went over there. Their GM is now our assistant GM. So I think the kid's set up to do well. They have a off and on scary defense, which is good.
It's a very good way to put it. They are so spotty.
They have these hit and miss games. They've also blown some fucking games where they should have won in the East. So I think their card is their division, and it's tough. So, there'll be some key games. Like if they get fucked up by Philly twice and Dallas twice and do their 7-6 win team, it doesn't matter. If they could steal one of those games each, it's like, whoa, this is anyone's division. So I know I'm being soft with this prediction, but I actually took the Eagles to win the East.
Okay.
I just was buying them low, not low in the public eye, but how low they finished the season versus where I thought they could have been. They've made some good pickups on the secondary. They've brought in Saquon. I think they're going to be a team that can put up a lot of points, and they invested in their defense. So, yeah, I'll be boring. I'm gonna just have Philly taken that one. It's Dallas. I think this is going to have a disappointing year.
I am on the same. I'm right on the same heartbeat with you. I think Philly. Everything kind of makes sense, right? You get the Saquon signing. You piece together some defensive parts. I'm not super sold on all these Georgia guys because Philly took a bunch of Georgia guys. The Packers took a bunch of Georgia guys. It's not really working out for either defense right now. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm kind of boring in that division. I think Philly kind of runs away from it. And if you're getting them for plus money early on in the season, good for you. I haven't taken a real good look at their schedule, so maybe you can get in a better buy price later on. But we'll move along to what everybody kind of called the most boring division in football last year. Very interesting this year, in my opinion, just off some new faces. Gino, let's talk NFC South a little bit. And I want to start in Atlanta because I think the Atlanta Falcons have to be one of the most interesting teams in the NFL this year, if not the most interesting team in the NFL. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Atlanta's offseason because it was fucking crazy.
Yeah, I do think they really fucked up on their draft. Like, why? Mm-hmm. It's not even that they signed Kurt and paid him a bunch of money. It's of all the quarterbacks, he's the oldest and injury prone. So, like, you're not holding on. You're not, again, we made the worst quarterback draft decision in the last 20 years by trading 3 draft picks for Trey Lance. We would have had it's scary how good the Niners would have been if we went with wide receiver.
Bryce Young's giving you a run for your money right now.
I would take 1 overall versus the 3 that we gave up for Trey.
Fair.
So we had 3 picks, dude. And if you look at who was in that draft, it was Jamar Chase. It was
it was a loaded one.
Micah Parsons. It was, we would, wherever you threw the ball, it was sticking on an all-pro player. If you look, it's scary what we got, what fucking happened with that. So kind of the inverse. That kid was young and barely played any football. So oddly, we should have had a longer leash on him. I don't know why we got rid of him then right away after he hurt himself. So he could have sat on the bench for another 5 years. But what I'm trying to say was that draft pick made no sense. I don't get it.
What is the right entrance? So you sign Kirk Cousins to a 3-year deal.
Yeah, so you should have drafted right now. Should have got like the best available player.
You have a 30-some-year-old, I think it's low 30s, maybe mid 30s now. Obviously, he tore his Achilles. That sucks. It's not an injury that you see a lot of reoccurrence on. He's been relatively healthy the rest of his career. You've already got guys on the outside that can make plays. You've got a guy in the backfield in Robinson that is top 3 right now in the league as a second-year player. So, yeah, if you're Atlanta, you were playing with house money drafting at 8, and you took another quarterback. I really don't understand it. I do like them going out and getting Darnell Mooney. Big fan of Darnell Mooney. I thought he was underutilized in Chicago. I took him every year in the draft thinking that he was going to be a breakout performance, but nobody could throw him the ball. But yeah, I think Atlanta's good. Is Atlanta now? I got a question for you, Gino.
Mm-hmm.
Is Atlanta a 10-win team?
They could be in that division. I gave out the Bucks got as high as plus 360 to win that division.
Okay.
So I gave out the Bucks. I just said, Baker, people go to the Jets and they go to Cleveland. Quarterbacks go to the Jets and Cleveland to die. High round draft picks. So the fact that he got his second chance, has a senior receiving core that's, they're aging now, but they're there. And they got a decent run game and a decent defense. He signed. They have some stability there now. That's the same, like within a few players now. I'm not calling Baker Tom Brady, so don't jump down.
Right.
But
of course.
Within a few players, that's the team that won the Super Bowl down there. So
thank you.
I just don't.
Somebody needs to start saying that more. I said that last year, and they didn't look great, but yeah, plus 360. They're plus 330 right now.
Nice.
Openly.
I'll see what Atlanta does. We'll see what Atlanta is.
And it's one of those things that you could probably play the season out. And Atlanta's probably going to drop to plus, they're plus 110 right now. Good chance Atlanta loses a game or two here early. They're a plus 300. Then you're sitting there with plus 300s on both of those. And we'll talk about the bottom of this division. It's not that impressive. And I love that strategy. I think taking them, if you can get them around plus 350 or 360 like Gino did, I think that's a terrific spot.
Dude, there will be a couple of games where if the winner of those heads-up matchups win the division.
And then you got to talk about, obviously, there's a third team when we talk about this. It's the Saints. Now,
they're going the wrong way.
Right. And it's a team that I fight myself on every single year. It's actually, I shouldn't say it's a team. It's a quarterback, dude. I've fought myself on Derek Carr ever since he's been in the league. It's like, is he somebody that's a formidable quarterback? Obviously, then you've got Kamara, who is aging as a running back that's good on agile things, catching the ball. Dude, I don't know what to think of the Saints. I'm ready for them to blow it all up. I just need them to blow it all up. They've held on for so many more years than I thought they would hold on for, but it also, it's not a great division. So I'm ready for the Saints to just absolutely crash out. Where are you at on the Saints?
Yeah, I mean, they still got a really good defense down there, but they're one of those weird teams that I see them winding down. I see them going in the wrong direction. They have some bad contracts, not a lot of cap space, and not a lot of talent and draft picks. So I'm not as low as them as maybe many others. I've seen their defense win me games and cover for me against good teams when they shouldn't.
A backdoor bandit of a team, the New Orleans.
They're nasty. So yeah, I'm not like thrown in the towel. They got good fans on there. They got a good home field. I just don't see them remotely as a threat in that division. And I think it's a two-team division. I think Carolina getting 4.5 this weekend's too many. I think that spread should be like 1.5.
I actually want to talk about Carolina because Carolina is a team. So Steve Fezzik, who I know you probably know, very well-respected sports bettor, is super, super high on Carolina and like a second-year jump. But what the fuck did Carolina do to make a second-year jump, Gino? Like, what?
I kind of agree with him, though, in the sense that, dude, they were in a bunch of games. Their record, put it this way,
they almost beat us on like Christmas Eve.
They're a lot better than their record.
Oh.
They just fell apart at the end of a lot of games. So, again, I'm not like I would take them on their team win total to win it by a half a game. I'm not saying they're making any runs. I like their defense. So, yeah, I'll keep it simple. I think the value in that division to win it is Tampa Bay.
I think you and I have correlated on that one, my friend. And if you've got it at 360, I will love it at 330. And then we'll see how that plays out. That's the other part about gambling. You can't just say, Well, here's my bet for the whole season. That's the only team I'm rooting for. If you got good value, you're going to have so many opportunities to maximize that value throughout the season. So people need to understand that. Obviously, it ties up your money when you're betting futures, but especially if you're one of these guys, and obviously I want to promote Bet Openly as much as I can, but if you're one of these guys that's already betting on credit and your bookie that's betting on credit, you're already fucking getting the money for free. Tie it up in a future. I don't know, man. Go put your actual money on Bet Openly.
Bet it low. Don't overbet futures.
Yeah, don't overbet futures. Bet it low. Get the best price you can. Let's move to my neck of the woods there, Gino. I want to talk NFC North a little bit. Right now, as it stands, Lions plus 144, Packers plus 222, Bears plus 333. Did I just read that right? I feel like I just had a stroke. Vikings plus 1,000. All lines that kind of correlate together. I know where I stand. I just want to hear. I don't want to bring this out to be a huge homer thing. I've got a Packers show that will get plenty homer on. I want to know where you stand as in my opinion, sharp better on this one.
A lot of Packers shade out there.
Well, you've been our daddy for my whole life.
I actually gave out Jordan Love as the MVP as a sleeper play.
I got it as a wedding gift.
That's a good wedding gift, dude.
It's at $50. Jordan Love, I think it was like plus 3,300 or something like that.
There you go. It's for me. It's all the value. It's just how he finished the year. It's. I have Mahomes is pretty. He's set up pretty nice out there with Xavier now. But
I don't know how he doesn't.
But so I'm high on the Packers. I'm high on how they finished the year. I also think Detroit won a lot of 50-50 games that they not shouldn't have. That's the wrong term, but that could go the other way this year in the NFL. It's going to be a really good division. There's almost a good chance you guys are 4-0 as the North after week one. I'm a survivor guy, and people are like, take Cincy. Yeah, I got 3 picks in the circa $10 million.
I was going to say 38% of your thing was Cincy. I was one of them.
Yeah. So the people will be on Cincy. That's okay.
Sure.
I'll have one of my plays on it. I'll probably have I'm calling them the Seahawk Tuas now. They're the Seahawk Tuas. So the Seahawk Tuas will be one of my other ones, just because it's not a good team in a tough division that I want to get rid of versus a rookie quarterback in a very good home-built state. But I'm going to give you
one thing that people need to understand is when Gino talks about his survivor, he can only choose this team once.
They only can play once.
Once he chooses it, boom, since he's gone for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you don't want for that pick. You don't want to use the good teams, and I'm not overly high on them. They'll be fine. But I'll give you my third one that I don't think you'd guess in a million years. It's Minnesota at New York Giants. Yeah, it's like, what am I doing? So I don't want Minnesota on my slate. I want really a 6
Get
wins.
rid of them.
Yeah, they're still a 6 or 7 win team, and that's the kind of game you can't lose. And I think their team has more depth than the Giants, and the Giants lost just as much. It's just a different way.
True.
So I think Minnesota's going to go in there and work them. So I actually think there's a good chance we see a 4-0 NFC North after the first week. So if you guys want a nasty parlay out there, go ahead and parlay those 4 teams. I think actually Green Bay is a dog.
Green Bay is a dog.
It should be pretty good. It should probably get you like 20-1 odds.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, and if I know anything about the NFC North, we all like betting on each other because we all love each other at the end of the day. So and
great. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the 4.5 that Chicago's given to Tennessee, but I'll go money line on all 4.
Yeah, we'll talk about the lines in a little bit. That game scares me how they've graded it. But before we get into the lines, we do have to talk about your neck of the woods, my friend.
I know, and I only got 6 minutes left. I'm going live with Smart Money.
Right. So. Perfect. So we'll run through it quick. Obviously, you're a big fan of the Niners. You're on the Niners. Is there any team that you could even think about? Even giving you a chance?
I think the Rams are going to be very potent on offense. I actually think Puka and Cooper's going to come back. He's not down and out forever. So I think they're going to be a damn good Rams offense.
Cooper, I'd take in almost every league.
We've now swept our division 2 years in a row. We own these teams We're going to own them again. Seattle and Arizona got worse. I guess Arizona has a quarterback, so they're not worse. It's not fair. They drafted poorly. They drafted for what?
Talk that shit, baby. Come on now.
I think the Niners sweep their division. I think these are the 12-win Niners. 12-5 is plenty. That said, this might be an 11-win Rams team, so that's a good fucking team. So, I do think we're going to have a repeat of us taking the division and the Rams taking the wild card.
That's perfect.
So, I'm not throwing shade at the Rams. For some reason, we own them. We've owned them for a couple of years now. We've turned around the Seahawks ownage of us, which is nice, but we've always owned the Cardinals with or without full strength and all of that. So,
I think the phrase "somehow we've owned them" might be the most disrespectful thing
we
you
just
could say to it. Somehow I own the Chicago Bears. Ever since I was born, they're just sitting there in my pocket. Gino, you got like 2-3 minutes before you get out of here, brother. What are you looking at on week 1 NFL? I'm going to go through all the games once you leave. Anything on your eye?
Yeah. I'll give you some boring. I'll try and go in order of how the Degen thinks. I think Kansas City works Baltimore, sadly. You could sell me on the under in that game. That Baltimore's offense just doesn't do a whole lot. I know people are going to be mad because now they have Henry and all these, all this. I think Kansas City covers that.
A lot of window dressing.
Yeah, I like Baltimore team total under, maybe the under in the game. Friday, I have Packers money line. It could go either way, but I do have the Packers. I don't think it's a big reflection of a negative on Philly. I think they'll be fine. I just think it's a good game that the Packers take.
If that game's at Philly, I think the Packers lose.
Yeah, you got to look at that kind of stuff, dude. Philly lost a home game. Dude, my Niners played 3 teams last year off the bye. That should never fucking happen, ever. Each team should get 1 team off the bye. There's only 32 buys.
3 teams off the fucking bye?
Out in 5 weeks. It was disgusting.
That's absurd.
All right. Who makes the schedule?
Okay.
Dude, hard.
AI does. AI fucking does now.
These are gladiators coming off of rest to beat up on your boys. Dude, it was wicked unfair.
That's brutal.
Going all the way, I think Dallas loses to Cleveland. I like Indy to upset Houston. That'll get some love from the haters.
Nice.
And I think my Niners win Monday with an under. I think
that's what I wanted to ask you about. So
the under. I like the under best.
That game, funny
it
fact,
might be 13-17, dude.
All summer, this line sits at 6.
I know.
Why now? And I get it. Why does it move?
I thought they got Devontae Adams.
And Trent,
that's what I thought was happening.
And Trent Brown. And I'm like, okay, so because we saw Trent Brown's brother, he's playing.
Yeah. It's
like
fine.
It's all kosher. What's changed public perception, and what do we know about the public? They're fucking stupid.
No, it's not even the public that's beating that one down. Honestly, I think points are gonna be very hard to come by on both sides of that.
I graded the Jets defense as good as anybody. I
like a weird pop on that one. Brock Purdy over on rushing yards. Jets defense locking down him, scrambling with his feet. It's like 6 yards. It's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
The Jets defense allows 18-20. Do it.
Brock Purdy rushing
over 6. And I actually think they'll also let you stack it up.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Well, Gino, I will let you get to your next appointment here, brother. I appreciate you.
Bro.
Thank you so much. We're going to roll through NFL as Gino gets out of here. And I will talk to you shortly, my brother.
Later.
All right, man. That is Gino from BetOpenly. You can catch him pretty much anywhere. The dude is literally everywhere. Want to run through NFL Week 1. I've got some plays. I at least want to run through the lines. We start Thursday night. Super excited on Thursday night. Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs. Gino talked about it already. He likes KC. I like KC. It's similar to the Super Bowl, man. I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes. Not at this point. I like Lamar. I drafted Lamar in a lot of leagues. 2.5 doesn't entice me enough to take the points. 46.5 for the total, right on where I'd say it'd be. On Friday night, I do have my Packers +3 on BetOpenly. I forgot to mention that to Gino. +3 for -109. Right now, it's +2.5 for +100. Gino talked about getting a money line. Sunday, looking at Sunday morning here, noon kickoff. Steelers, Falcons, under 42 is my play. It's now down to under 41.5. I think these two teams are not going to click immediately. Obviously, we talked about Kirk Cousins. We talked about the Steelers last week with a whole bunch of woes. I'm not exactly sure where I stand on the Steelers, but yeah, I don't think the Steelers are a super special team. I don't think the Falcons are a super special team offensively, at least not at this point. I go under in that one. Looking at the Bills and the Cardinals, a little surprising on the line, +6.5 for even money, +2 or -272 for the Bills. They'll be one of the top money line candidates. I wouldn't do it. I really wouldn't do it. Arizona's been improperly coached for years. That's over. We'll see how that does. If it brings it to a level playing field, their offense should explode. We'll see. Speaking of offenses that can explode, the Miami Dolphins are laying 3 against the Jags. I lean Miami and the over. Feels like a game where if you could tease Miami to +3 in the over, maybe you win, but maybe you tie and then you tease and then you lose. Tough spot there. Minnesota at the Giants. We talked about this one. Gino likes the Vikings. And because Gino likes the Vikings, I like nobody because I'm not taking the Vikings right now. -1, -105 to win, -112. Total in this one's 41. I think I like the under for the exact same reasons. I like the under so much. I'm going to take that under. We'll call that under 41. Giants, Vikings. Oh, yeah. That's a bet. Titans, Bears. Bears laying 4 +102 right now, -176 on the money line. That's too many points for a rookie quarterback. I get it. But Tennessee is trying to win games this year. People don't understand. Tennessee wants to win football games. They went out and spent a shitload of money. If you don't think that they're trying to win, you're not paying attention. +4 against a Bears team. I get it. Caleb's great. I watched him in college. I've watched him in the preseason. He's been awesome. Till he does shit in the NFL, it doesn't mean anything. Will Levis has done just enough. I lean Tennessee. I'm not betting it yet, but I definitely lean Tennessee. It could totally see me teasing that sucker outside to 10, but I'd rather get 10.5. So I'm going to hold on it. Looking at the next game, Bengals, Patriots, -8.5 right now. The Bengals over under 40.5. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the Wong teaser. If you don't know Wong teasers, Mr. Wong, very good statistician, very good gambler. He talked about specific numbers. The numbers that we look at on a football field, laying 3, laying 7. Cincinnati right now, they're laying 8.5. If I tease it by 6 points, I tease it through the 7 and I tease it through the 3. I am getting maximum value on my teaser by taking Cincinnati. I don't like Cincinnati 8.5. I'm going to take Cincinnati instead at 2.5 and pair that thing up with a team we'll talk about later. Houston, Indianapolis. This is the rat fucking line of the week. Texans -2.5. Over under 48.5. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how Indy's going to look. This is a game where I have no problem just throwing my hat in there and saying, hey, what happens, happens. We'll see it, and we'll react to it. But it's going to be a good game, a noon kickoff. But no opinion on my side. The Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, 42 for a total screams under to me. Saints are laying 4 in this one. Right now, I lean under. Same reasons I've been leaning under all week. Statistically, unders always go during the week 1 of the regular season. So we will see how that goes. But I like the under. New Orleans, Carolina at 42. Moving on to some late games. Seattle They are hosting Denver. They're laying 6. Gino talked about liking laying 6. I don't know if I like that. I just don't know how much I'm bought in on Seattle. The over-under is 41.5. I like the over in this one for a guy that's been betting unders all weekend. We'll keep an eye on it as we go. Right now at 41.5, I see a lot of value. We'll see if I bet that by the end of the night. Might. Vegas is on their way to the Chargers laying 3. Total is 40.5 in this one. I love LA. I like Justin Herbert. I like Harbaugh. I don't know if I like them all together. It's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some time to sell me on the Chargers. Honestly, I would take the Raiders at plus 3.5 if it gets outside there. So looking at the Bucks and the Commanders, this is a 3-point Buck favorite, 43.5 point total. Vegas kind of liking the Commander offense with that total. I think that's what that kind of reads to. Right now, I'm not going to lay points with Tampa. I like their pieces. Again, similar to what I just talked about, I don't like them as a whole. Right now, moving right along. Dallas and the Cowboys, or not Dallas and the Cowboys, Dallas and the Browns. This is going to be my second leg of the teaser. So the Cowboys right now are plus 2.5. Moving the boys outside of 3 and outside of 7. We are going to make this 8.5 with a 6-point teaser. I don't think Cleveland's very good. I've been very, very vocal about how I do not trust Deshaun Watson for a multitude of reasons, most likely because he's a sexual predator, but that's besides the point. But yeah, I really, really like Dallas. I kind of like Dallas to win at plus 135. It's one of those bets at plus 135. I don't really see the value in it. I think I see the more value in teasing it. That is a 2-unit teaser, so make sure we're keeping that accordingly. Moving on to Sunday night, it is the second return of Matt Stafford. The Lions are hosting the Rams. Lions are laying 3.5. I immediately go Rams. I think the Rams are going to be good this year. If anything, I would bet it 0.5. It's a game that I'm going to watch all the way through, see what the public does. Everybody's going to panic. They're either going to do great, they're either going to do shit, and then I'm going to let the line balance out, and I'll probably bet it sometime in the afternoon on Sunday because that is our Sunday night matchup. And Gino and I kind of talked about it. This Monday night matchup, I like San Francisco. Why the fuck were they -6 all season? They go down to laying 4. Because obviously Trent Williams and Ayuk don't know if they're going to play, don't know their contract situation. Guess what? They're both playing. Why is the line laying 4? So yeah, you got to take San Francisco on this point. San Francisco laying 4 is -103, it looks like on BetOpenly. Yep, -103. And you can get the money line just under 2 bills. So yeah, man, I'm super excited for the weekend. Again, bets that I've locked in: Green Bay +3, Northwestern -142. That's 3/4 of a unit. Georgia Tech +3 at +105. That's a half unit. Pittsburgh and Atlanta under 42. And I've got a 2-way teaser: Dallas +8.5, Cincinnati -2.5. And again, really like San Francisco on Monday night. Really like Los Angeles on Sunday night, but we're going to wait and see how those shake out. But that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate it. 44 people in the stream tonight. Y'all were fantastic. Big shout out to Gino for coming on today. Super excited for football, man. This is the best time of the year. It literally cannot get any better than this. So we'll talk to you next week. I don't know what day we're going to stream. Got to talk to Joey, figure out some of the logistics on that, but we will get a week 2 NFL stream. And make sure you tune in this weekend on Sunday. We've got a blast of a stream. The Twitching Hour is coming to Sundays. It's going to be a whole hoot. I'm going to get real drunk. I'm going to get a little stoned, and we're going to have a blast betting football. So thank you so much for listening. Everybody that's been in there, everybody that was in the chat, that was fun. And look at that. 1 minute or 1 hour, 10 minutes. Perfect.